If you're a fan of high-level StarCraft 2, I think you're really going to enjoy this series, because what I've got for you today is a best-of-3 match between the two very best players for their respective races from South Korea. Spawning right here in game number 1 in the top right-hand corner of a map called Alcyone. Playing with the blue Terran SCVs, we have Maru. His opponent in the opposite corner of the map, playing with the red Zerg drones, he goes by the name of Dark. Dark, okay, starts off this game by sending out a very quick drone in the direction of the golden minerals. Maru, interesting scout timing over here. He is gonna send an SCV. I think this is Maru actually predicting what Dark is going for. Yeah, this is a strange timing right here on the SCV. So a hatchery, whilst it's building, does not have quite the same amount of vision. Yeah, so Maru at this point knows that there is a hatchery taken at the golden minerals, and Dark does not know that he has been spotted. Maru, gets a glimpse right there of the Overlord as well. Honestly, brilliant stuff right here from Maru right from the start. I'm already gonna fanboy, okay? We're only a minute into this, but Maru checked the golden minerals. He knew that his opponent had, at the very least, the chance to go ahead and build that very first structure over there. Then he touched the watchtower, briefly saw the direction that that first Overlord was flying into, and now he knows that this barracks will be completely unscouted. It's a double barracks opener, with the first one going down as part of the Naturals wall-off. Alright, so yeah, Dark is actually in a world of trouble. That base is dead, I think, right? I mean, what are you gonna do? It's a gasless opener right here for Dark. So it's a hatchery at the gold base, into a spawning pool in the main, into another hatchery right here on the low ground. That means that metabolic boost is not going to be coming up here anytime soon. Drones heading on down towards the low ground here. Bunker starts up as well for Maru to seal the deal. Now Dark will see it. The drones decide to turn around. Okay. So this hatchery, yeah, it's effectively become a very expensive queen, I guess. And even that queen is gonna be in a little bit of trouble. It's actually Reapers into Marines right now for Maru. That honestly strikes me as almost a little bit overly confident. I mean, I guess the Marines are good at killing the structure, but it does mean that, yeah, I guess if you have 2 Reapers, you can keep slow Zerglings at bay relatively easily. Gas right now in the main base here for Dark, who decides to go for a Roach Warren on the back of this. Okay, so maybe make use of some of the larvae that will be left over. No, we're gonna make a drone. I wonder if it's possible here for Dark to hold on to that base. I don't think so, but he's sending Zerglings around the map to just try and maybe get a little bit of counter pressure in. The fact that Dark actually made a drone over here is kind of wild to me. Maybe he wanted to make a spine crawler or something along those lines, or maybe he just wanted to use that one larva because he had the minerals for it. Overlord also gets sniped out of the skies, it looks like. Oh, Jimmy, nice micro right here by Dark. Yeah, the Overlord actually does live. A little bit of luck right there. But yeah, that expansion is down. I mean, roaches are coming. Zerglings, slow Zerglings that is, are also on the production tab. Command Center will finish up eventually here for Maru, who's made a reactor at home, as well as double a refinery in the main base, it looks like. So, yeah, he's going to be able to eventually maybe get some Cyclones going for that base defense. Okay, this hatchery certainly is dead. But now what, right? What do you do now here? Well, I was going to say as Dark, but what do you do right now here as Maru? Do you assume that your opponent is going to go for some sort of all-in? I mean, it's Dark. Yeah, I think a bunker is certainly not a bad choice. He did see one roach now moving across the map. That is a little cheeky because it's really only just a single roach, maybe a second one on the back of it, but it's really not that many units. Cyclones indeed are being made now defensively, and a Marine is coming up here for Maru. No tech lab or anything like that. Yeah, he's respecting this very, very much so. Second bunker on the back of this too. What's actually happening though in this game is that Dark is making drones. So he starts up metabolic boost. Reapers right now do scout it. That's an excellent scout right here for Maru. Gets a drone, okay. Honestly, the vision here is more important. Gets a third worker as well. Alright. The fact that his opponent is making drones, though, is really the most important information, because that tells Maru that it's time for him to start powering out that economy as well. He salvages the bunkers, and he's adding on, well, I guess a medevac and whatever else he's got. I think he's about ready to start moving towards the other side of the map. So ultimately... What? Sorry about that, Jimmy. Apparently, you were not meant for this world. ultimately, who is ahead? Because if you look at the worker count right now, Dark does have a few more drones. If you look at the timing of the third command center, it is by no means early. Sure, Dark ended up losing a hatch, but keep in mind that Dark is also an incredibly flexible player. Most people, whenever they're thrown in a situation, like for example this one, a situation that you've never seen before, they start second guessing their every decision, but Dark seems to shine in these type of games in particular. I love what he did with the 2 Roach move out, by the way. Like, that double Roach move out immediately put Maru in a very defensive posture. That third command center would have started up significantly earlier if it wasn't for the fact that he needed to build those bunkers. Reaper right now is going to scout the timing of the third hatch. That one is finishing up and, well, I don't really mind this position. What about these Hellions in the main base? Do we have any drones? Sorry, Zergling. Well, we have 6 of them. Link speed is done, but this is a nice little drop right here by the South Korean Terran. Alright, saves the 3 Hellions that he needs to one-shot a worker. Not bad. 6 workers in total. Yeah. Also nothing really to write home about, though. That queen, she did put down a creep tumor. Interestingly enough, and I don't know if I 100% agree with this, Dark is actually spreading the creep backwards. So rather than going for that... yeah, tumor towards the other side of the map, he's using it to protect what will probably be a 4th base here at the 6 o'clock position. That medevac drop, by the way, has gone all the way around. The queen is ready. There are Zerglings available too. One of the Hellions is very low in hit points. We have 2 more medevacs at the bottom of the map right now. I think it's 2 Cyclones and a bunch of Marines. Okay. Yeah, Dark not quite in position to defend against this aggression, though. The Queen Star, yeah, still waiting to see if maybe they need to protect against that other medevac drop, but it looks like that one's not moving around. Ravagers over here trying to get a lucky bile in. Okay, we're gonna drop whatever we've got over here on top of those Ravagers. 1 Cyclone falls, 1 Ravager falls. The other 2, for now at the very least, are still alive. I love this. Yep, nicely done right there by Maru. Decides to sacrifice a few more of his cheaper units to snipe 2 of those Ravagers. Alrighty. Glial Reconstitution, that's the Roach speed upgrade, is done. That's gonna make this drop defense significantly easier. That said though, it's not lined up with any of these upgrades. Very frequently those upgrades are in sync. Not the case in this particular game. Armory at the appropriate time, so Maru can go straight into the 2-2 research here as well in just a moment. I think he's gonna need it, because I don't believe he's gonna be able to obtain the victory here anytime soon. Medevac drops continue. 6 o'clock base indeed acquired. That creep threat, since it was spread backwards, yeah, Dark actually has vision out on the map before those medevacs, well, land any of the troops, right? So that creep is a little further forward, I guess, than the Maru was expecting, despite the fact that it was indeed spread backwards. It's an interesting play. Cyclone goes down. 1 creep tumor, I believe, was killed here, but that's really about it. Alrighty. Dark making 6 Overlords. Are we going to just power out tons of Roaches here and hit the opponent in the face with 1-1? I don't think it's a bad choice. Albeit a little bit of a risky one. Infestation Pit coming up right now. Maybe to go straight into a hive and just use these Roaches defensively. Leverage that 4th base over here at the bottom with the 2 extra gases into what will likely be Lurker play. Medevac drops continue. This is now 5 medevacs filled with units. +2 does start up, but not at the perfect timing right there from Maru, who did go for a nice and quick, well, 4th command center. 2nd factory also finishing up right here at the front. He's gonna be allowed to, well, really pump out more and more of those units. We do have 2 infestors on the production tab, but they're not out yet. Good dodgings right there of those biles. Medevacs, though, ultimately do end up going down. Queen there also gets sniped. Roaches were on their way towards the other side, but perfect on siege right there by Maru. Snatches those siege tanks from the ground before the Roaches can really get in. That being said, okay, the Hellions, oh, they decide to go after the one little drone that wants to become the gold. Eventually it does start up. We obviously don't have those siege tanks at home right now to defend, but it looks like Maru's Stimpak here is enough to push back the Zerg in the end. And Dark now scouts that 4th base over on the right side of the map. +1 vehicle weapons coming up right here for the Terran. +1 melee researching here for Dark. So he probably wants to go into what will likely be a Link Bane-based army eventually. Either that or maybe Ultralisks. It's a bit funky because he doesn't have a Baneling Nest. Without a Baneling Nest? Ah, okay, I was gonna say, yeah. The timings just don't really line up with anything. Baneling Speed is obviously an upgrade that takes quite a while to research, so Dark not really lining himself up for any attack, but he is skipping Lurkers here and he's going into what seems to be a Ling Bane-based army instead. Okay. Hellions. Finally, they do, for the most part, get cleaned up. Marines over here also not achieving all too much. Spire is researching here, or building rather, for Dark. Maybe this is just for a few Corruptors? Okay. Yep, I think Dark is happy to play the macro game here. Maru, interestingly enough, after playing a relatively passive style for quite a while, it feels like over the last few casts where I've featured him, he has been super active. Just moving around the map, going for big timing attacks, a lot of multitasking. Maybe, you know, he's been looking at some of that Clem playstyle as well, and Clem seems to maybe have even overtaken Maru for the position of the #1 Terran. I think that's probably it, honestly. Maru probably studying some of those Clem replays and thinking, yo, is that what I'm supposed? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, if, you know, if the Frenchman can get it done like this, maybe that's what I should give a try as well. We do have those Medevacs now YOLOing in. That's going to be the end of those Marines, but they do take out quite a few Zerg units in the process. Most notably, I think it was a couple of Queens. More Medevacs going to the main base. Also, again, a little bit of a YOLO drop, though. Yeah, he's replacing the lost units here, so I don't mind this. He's replacing the lost supply with Liberators and Ghosts. Okay. 7 drones end up going down here in total. Honestly, at this point, though, those 7 drones not that impactful. It's actually not for Corruptors, by the way. It's a Greater Spire, which will get spotted here, I think. Yeah, by Maru. He did get vision of it. The one Hellion from earlier still roasting workers, still going after creep tumors. You love to see it. That's one of the early game Hellions that was produced at like, yeah, minute 2.5 or so. I guess the Cyclones came first. What came first, the Hellion or the Cyclone? It's the Cyclone, guys. The age-old question. Alright, +3 coming up here as well for the Terran. But yeah, now the Liberator play, together with the Ghosts, is well underway. And this is where Maru is dangerous. Maybe Maru is taking a page out of Clem's book for playing the mid-game. But it's pretty clear to me as well that Clem has taken a page out of Maru's book to play the late game. Maru is incredibly good at playing that slow, methodical style. Although he still has a lot of Marines and Marauders left over. Yeah, he's even remaking some of them. That Fungal not achieving all too much. I don't know, man. I don't think you can jump in there, Dark. There's a lot of siege tanks here on the back of it. More and more, man. Every time I move my camera, there's another siege tank. Dark does not want to give up on this base. That's the problem for him, right? So he's making Corruptors right now. Honestly, Brute Lords would be kind of nice, but obviously Ghosts are good against those units as well. Jimmy here leads the charge, gets high ground vision, allows those snipes to go down. Couple of the siege tanks also shooting their shells. I think it's about time, yeah, to give up on this hatchery. Nice movement right here by Maru. 3 Brute Lords are coming up. Interesting group. I don't know if it does really that much, but we have some parasitic bombs going down just to try and soften up this Terran army a little bit. I think Maru may have actually had a glimpse right there of those Brute Lords as well. Honestly, it's only 3 Brutes. I think Marines and Ghosts will be okay. It's got 1 Viking as well. The Viking is not to be underestimated. Okay, Corrosive Biles together with Fungal Growths trying their very best. That 1 Viking actually super obnoxious. Because there's no anti-air here in the Zerg army at the moment. The Brute Lords are good though at forcing the siege tanks to unsiege, but look at immediately those Ghosts moving forward. A couple of the Roaches do get snatched. Well, a couple of the siege tanks maybe actually get snatched over here in the middle of the map. Queens decide to move forward. Okay. Dark, yeah, somewhat stable here, but I'm not loving his position. Maru is continuously expanding here on the right side of the map. Excellent movement. Honestly, Maru looks incredible in this match so far. Oh, a couple EMPs go down as well. Vikings, well, there's only a few of them again, but just a couple putting in a lot of supplemental damage. Obviously, in theory, it's amazing. It's just that realistically, when you're microing all of this on the screen already, plus you're trying to manage all your other stuff. Yeah, the Vikings make sense on paper, but realistically, very difficult unit to mix in because it requires an additional hotkey group. Queens, oh, in so much trouble. Man, Maru's looking insanely good lately. Like, I was criticizing his play like a month or two ago. I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not really loving what Maru has been doing here. Maybe he was just taking it easy, or maybe he was dealing with some personal... I don't know. But the Maru we're seeing now looks absolutely insane. Like, it started right at the beginning of this game, man. That beautiful move with the bunker and the scout timing, and then the Overlord glimpse, and the positioning of that proxy Rex. I mean, all of it pretty much flawless. Zerglings, though, are getting a lot of damage done on the other side of the map. Yeah, this is really lovely work here by Dark. Problem is that Dark has lost the golden base, and now he's also lost that base at the 6 o'clock position. Good fungal over here. Dark's unit control, of course, still, well, sublime. It's just that he does not have, yeah, a good enough army anymore. GG is cold, and Maru obtains the victory in game number 1. Next up, we find ourselves on the map site Delta. Lovely game right there from Maru. Never really made any mistakes, right? I mean, other than the upgrades, but yeah. Sometimes players like to delay their upgrades because the armory was properly timed. Sometimes players are a little afraid of the opponent going for a big attack and they prioritize getting their units going there rather than upgrades that are gonna kick in like 2 minutes from now, right? Maybe he was afraid of like a +1/+1 roach push. So he decided, you know what? I'm gonna prioritize units rather than upgrades there. So I'm willing to let that one slide. And if we don't take the upgrade timings into consideration, I think that Maru basically played a perfect game. Like, that was really well done. The fact, by the way, that Dark, after that horrible early game, right? With that 200 IQ proxy base, I mean, 200 IQ counter from Maru, that is. Anyways, the fact that Dark managed to still make that like a 15-minute game in the end is very impressive too. Because I think many Zerg players out there would never have been able to get their feet back under them, right? He was trying his best to catch the opponent off guard. Threaten like a big roach attack early on into the game. Threaten a +1/+1 roach all in. Suddenly show up with a bunch of infestors. Hope for a lucky fungal growth. Suddenly tech switch into banelings. Suddenly show up with a bunch of brute lords, right? Like, it wasn't for a lack of trying. Dark certainly did his very best to get back into it, and the fact that he made it a 15-minute game was very impressive. Many a Terran player would not have been able to hold all of those tech transitions and play against them properly, but yeah, Maru really did not skip a beat. Alrighty, so what do we do right here on site Delta? Well, there's no golden minerals, first and foremost. Apparently Maru is gonna take this as an opportunity to, yeah, take a bit of a risk. No scouting here whatsoever. No Reaper first either, so he has no clue about what's going on. But he's hunting Overlords. Dark, though, scouting for proxy barracks because he's a little afraid that his opponent decides to go for a cheeky little all-in. Alright, the Overlord will arrive here eventually, but it's gonna be a bit later than what we normally see. Zerglings would have shown up at this point in time, I believe, so Maru at this point, yeah, a little bit more adventurous with his Marines. Sitting over there on the high ground by the time that the Zerglings should arrive, if they, you know, were made early on into the game. And then as soon as the upgrades, yeah, would kick in, he decides to go back home. None of that is happening, though, here for Dark. Dark opening up with a standard hatch gas pool into a quick triple hatch. Nice and early on that third base. It's going to allow him to get those queens going, and obviously Zerglings and drones. So, what do we do now? We're really hunting for an Overlord. Yeah, so 2 Marines were made. Maru is suspecting that the Overlord is here, and he does indeed, well, get the kill eventually. I don't think there's a whole lot that Dark can do about it. There are Zerglings out, but they're not close. Dark scouting all over the map. That's a little risky, though. Yeah, I guess with Hellions out, it's okay, but Dark busy scouting with slow Zerglings every corner of the map. Make sure that there's no proxy or anything like that going down. He checked all of those different locations. Hellions? Yep, nicely done. Beautiful bait. I don't know if Jimmy and Mark over here realized that they were bait, but they were just there to try and get those Zerglings to jump on them. Then the Hellions, the flame buggies over here, the cars, they came in and got a nice little shot. Liberator. So no Banshee play. This is Maru cutting quite a few corners. The thing is, he's 1-0 ahead in a series, and he's got a bit of wiggle room. Cyclones, by the way, were also produced here for Maru. Those are kind of funky. Just Zerglings alone are really good against them, but we don't have that many links. Yeah, I love the positioning on the Hellions here. Yeah, I don't know. I like Cyclones in general quite a bit, but they just seem kind of... You can't really catch your opponent off guard with them very much, you know? Like, if there are a couple queens out, which there always will be, and if there are a round of... I mean, the Zerglings and queens are going to be the only option that Zerg really has, and those are the units they will be making regardless of what's going on. So, trying to show up with your Cyclones and be like, haha, got you now, generally does not really seem to work. Yeah, they're not that expensive, though, so maybe in the end this is actually not that big of a deal. Cyclone in the meantime, or sorry, not the Cyclone, a Liberator in the meantime. Ooh, getting a bunch of damage done. Hellions. Okay, I found a bit of an angle too. Dark actually falling apart. That's way too much damage. Queens are distracted. Great movement right there with the Hellions as well. Trying to back them up in between those mineral fields in that little alleyway, that corridor that usually is meant for Reapers. So Hellions lining themselves up over here. Pretty much impossible for the Zerg to break with just Zerglings. 14 drones? Okay, well that certainly justifies losing those Cyclones for. I mean, ultimately the Cyclones were the reason why a lot of those Zerglings were low in hit points. Dark right now finding himself in a tricky position. The problem is, right? It's like a house of cards. When your foundation is no good, it's like any structure, I guess. It's like a pyramid. Let's go with a pyramid. If the foundation is not good, you're gonna end up with a very crooked structure, right? And Maru getting this much damage done early on is forcing Dark now supply blocked as well. Yeah, this is going from bad to worse. It's forcing Dark into a decision. Do you assume that your opponent is gonna be aggressive some more, right? And do you just kill that flat out, right? Hope you can overwhelm it? Or do you cut the corner, not really make army here, and just go non-stop drones and hope your opponent does not attack? Well, it looks like we're gonna go for the first option. Dark has decided to make non-stop Zerglings here for a while. Maru may have very well predicted it though. He's going into the 1-1 research, waiting until combat shields is done as well. Stimpack has finished up for those Marines. So when those 3 upgrades on the right side of the production tab all finish up, Maru is gonna get a massive power spike. Finally a drone once again on the production tab here for Dark, but this is not looking all too good. Essentially what he needs to do is overwhelm this army. That's a very early Stimpack, by the way. I don't love that. I think if Dark actually gets a jump on this right now, there is an opportunity. Yeah, nice control. Nice stutter stepping. Okay. Yeah, so this is a bit dangerous, because those upgrades are not yet done there for the Terran. I would have liked to see him wait for a bit more. Okay, now suddenly though, those Marines are significantly more powerful. +1 melee finishes up, but most of the Zerglings are on the other side, or at the very least on their way towards the other side. So many queens are dying. Reinforcing Terran units just easily clean up those links. GG is called, and Maru obtains a very quick victory in game number 2.